So building a business is a massive endeavor, and it takes a lot of extremely hard work, long hours, and much sacrifice. And I'm afraid I'm not here to teach you a way out of that. There isn't really a shortcut to business building success, but there are ways to ensure that the hard work and the constant demands do not overwhelm you. So today we're going to be looking at how to be more productive with our time, and it will result in you working less, but how much less actually depends on which stage of business you are in. The earlier the stage of business, the more work that is required, but we can get you to work a little bit less. Before we get into the content, I'm sure you'd like to know what qualifies me to teach it. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Tamryn, and I am the founder and CEO of the Pharsyde Group and the creator of this business builder. And I had a rather bumbling entrance into business ownership and a serious trial by fire. And quite honestly, I emerged rather singed on the other side. I went through 3 rounds of burnout while building my business, and the 3rd round was pretty bad, resulting in near collapse. But that collapse ended up being a good thing because it forced me to stop pushing and to reevaluate things, because clearly what I was doing was just not working. I came to the rather simple conclusion that working hard will get you nowhere if you are working the wrong way. So I learned to restructure what I do and how I do it, and I managed to turn my burnout around and to create businesses that are able to run without me. And now in all the businesses that I own, my passionate purpose is to prevent burnout in as many business owners as I possibly can, which is why the Business Builder exists. So, if you are feeling exhausted and overwhelmed and it seems like you are working and working and working and getting nowhere, then I know exactly how you feel. Being employed is so much easier than being a business owner. And yet all of us opened our own businesses because we wanted more freedom. And yet here we are, stuck in an endless cycle of admin and firefighting, sleepless nights, constant heartburn, and the never-ending fear that today might be the day you can't pay all your bills and you have to shut down. But it does not have to be like this. Yes, it does take hard work to build a business. It does take long hours to build a business. And it does take a significant amount of sacrifice. It is true that those things do need to happen. But if you are losing the will to keep pushing, and if you've lost your spark and you are dreaming of retiring or selling your business, then you have pushed too far, the wrong way, and it doesn't have to be like this. As I said earlier, I had to learn that working hard isn't good enough on its own. You need to work the right way to achieve results. That is what we teach in our business building course, which obviously I don't have time to take you through today, but I can share with you why we always teach the course in a very specific order. We teach 4 pillars in the Business Builder: purpose, process, people, and performance. And we always start with purpose. Because when your purpose is clear, it defines and determines the other 3 pillars, and it keeps you going. Your purpose is determined by your personal vision for your life and your personal values. In other words, the characteristics that are important to you. And those are the things that shape the purpose of your business. And that purpose then becomes a filter that every single other business decision needs to go through. And if you find yourself feeling constantly overwhelmed and feeling that you are busy all the time chasing your tail and actually achieving nothing, if that is you, then you probably haven't defined your purpose. You don't know what you are building for. You are working in your business instead of working on your future. You need to be able to do both. So today we're going to be looking at how, but you can't do both without defining your purpose. And I don't want to spend too much time on purpose today because I actually covered it in a previous webinar. That is where this current slide you are looking at is from. So I'm going to put the link in the chat for you so that you can access that webinar and watch it in your own time. There's also a workbook that goes with it. Give me a shout if you want a copy of the workshop. The workbook, sorry. But if you need help defining your purpose, then make some time to watch that video and work through that workbook, and I promise you it will help you. And you'll see at the end of that webinar that I teach a planning technique to help you use your purpose to be more productive. And we're actually going to go over that technique again today. But we're going to go into a little bit more detail on how that technique translates into real life. So when you have real problems with a lack of resources. But let's start with the planning technique that changed my life. This is a planning technique that completely revolutionized the way that I approach work. And when I use it, I don't always use it because I'm human and I sometimes fall back into my bad habits. But when I use it, my productivity levels soar. So before we get into the technique, there's two things I need to emphasize. The one is that this is not my technique. I did not create it. I received it from another business coach, and they in turn received it from the originator. The originator was an American billionaire who wanted to pay something forward. He shared his own productivity technique that helped him build literally $1 billion empire, and he gave it away for free. So the coach I got it from, he gives it away for free, and so I give it away for free in all of my free webinars on time, because paying things forward is always rewarded. But it does rely on you knowing these two things before you start: your purpose and your goals. Because these two things are very, very important to the success of your business. And although we don't have time to teach them to you today, I will say this. As a business owner, we should be focused on the tasks that move our business forward. We shouldn't actually be involved in day-to-day operations as the owner of the business. But that is easier said than done. It's also impossible if you're still in your business building phase. Then you're going to have to work in and on your business. And the only way you can do both is to take control of your time and your tasks. And if you are here today, it is because you know that your tasks are controlling you. You know you are not in control of your time. And there are two main reasons that this happens to business owners. The first is that you were in some form of professional service industries, such as accounting or engineering or architecture or something along those lines, and you made the leap from working for someone else to working for yourself. Congratulations. It is a very difficult and very brave step to step out of a secure job and start your own thing. So if that is you, well done. But if you were an employee first, you will have developed the mindset that success comes from two things: from becoming highly knowledgeable in your area of expertise and working bloody hard. Because when you are employed, if you have a good boss and you do these two things, you achieve success. You will produce good work, you will have outstanding outcomes, and you will be rewarded with bonuses or promotions or accolades. But you are doing these two things within the comfort of a clearly defined role that exists in an already existing and structured business. Now you have set out on your own, which means you still need to create the structured business that your role fits into before you can start applying these two principles of continuous learning and hard work. So if you are just focusing hard on what you are good at and working your butt off, it's probably resulting in you providing great results for your clients, but it is not helping you build a business. And that is why you are stuck in the weeds, putting out fires and running out of hours in the day. And the second reason that you don't get enough time and you get stuck in operations is because you don't have a vision. You can't build something if you don't know what you are building. Without a blueprint, you will have no idea whether you are building a home, a school, a museum, or a gallery. You have no idea and you have no direction. You need to know where you want this business to go to. You need to know what you want to achieve, and you need to work out how to join the dots between that future and the current reality. And that is why you need to define your purpose and you need to set yourself goals. So if you don't have these two things, then again, I encourage you to go watch the purpose webinar. That link is in the chat and it will help you define them. And you're also incredibly welcome to give me a shout and we can work through them together if you want to. But with those two things in mind, you can use this technique. So I like to do this with pen and paper. I think far better when I am physically writing than I do when I am typing. But if you do prefer to work digitally, there is a template in that workbook that I mentioned earlier. But if, like me, you are going to choose the paper route, then every Sunday, get yourself a nice clean sheet of paper. And at the top of that paper, write out your purpose. The reason your company exists and what it is that you are trying to achieve in this world. This is here to remind you of what you are working for, and it helps you to evaluate the next thing you are going to write. Because below your purpose, you are going to list your 3 big goals for the quarter. 3 big projects that you need to achieve this quarter in order to meet your goals for the year. Now, why are we specifically looking at 3? Because it has been scientifically proven that the human brain can't actually focus on more than 3 big things at a time. Those 3 big things can be broken down into hundreds of little things and we're still okay. But the moment you're trying to juggle more than 3 big plates at the same time, one of them falls on the ground. So only 3 big goals. There can be anything from an increase in sales to an improvement in your internal systems to creating more time for yourself after watching this webinar, but only 3 at a time. You have a weekly opportunity to double check that your 3 big goals are actually in line with your purpose every time you do this. If you want to, you can also add a date. Sometimes it's nice to file these and look back on your progress. That depends very much on your personality. Some people might just want to throw the paper away at the end of the week. But if you do want to refer back, a date is a nice thing to add. Then you're going to draw 4 quadrants onto your page. And in the first 3, you list your 3 big goals. Then you look at your to-do list for the coming week. And if they align, if any of your tasks on that list align with one of these projects, they go into that particular quadrant. The reason you are doing this is because you want to make sure that in the coming week, you're not just busy, you're actually productive. So you want to make sure that you are making time for these goals, these things that move the business forward. So you're going to assess all of your tasks for the coming week, and you're going to put them into the 3 quadrants. And after you've allocated all your project-related tasks to their specific quadrant, you take your remaining tasks and you put them in the 4th quadrant, which the creator of this technique called the Devil's Vortex. Now, the reason he called this the Devil's Vortex is because these tasks are not related to your big goals, which means they're not related to your purpose, and they're not moving the business forward. Now, that doesn't mean they don't need to happen, because things like answering emails or filing a tax return or phoning a client back definitely need to happen, but they're tasks linked to the operations of your business, not the future of your business. So the billionaire who created this technique instructs us to give the vortex tasks away. You don't even look at them, you just delegate them. Because remember, as a business owner, we should be focused on tasks that move our business forward. We shouldn't be involved in these day-to-day operations. But like I said, easier said than done. Because the billionaire who created this technique could give all of his vortex tasks away because he's a billionaire. He had an entire company of personnel that he could fob tasks off on. And we are not billionaires. Not yet, anyway. So, what do we do with the vortex tasks? There are only 3 ways that we can handle vortex tasks. There's only 3 things we can do with them. We can delegate them. So you might not have an entire corporation of employees, but if your business has reached the point where you do have staff, then you can give all or some of your vortex tasks to your staff. In other words, delegate them, give them away. Your employees should be handling the operations of the business, and you should be handling the future of the business. That is the ideal situation. But delegating tends to be very hard for small business owners, especially if you have high standards. I often hear people say that it's quicker and faster and better if they just do it themselves. But there is something that makes delegation painless. I promise it is actually possible to do, and we are going to be looking at it a little later. However, if you only have 1 employee or a tiny team, or maybe no employees at all because it's just you, then you can't delegate everything. In fact, you might not be able to delegate anything, in which case you can consider outsourcing them. Outsource as much as possible to a trusted supplier who will complete them in such a way that you are happy with the results. If you want to know how to outsource effectively, we have a little booklet on it here in the chat. If you haven't been to one of my chats before, my webinars, then you might be surprised at how many things I pop in the chat, but I share a lot of resources as we go. So you can save the chat at the end if you want access to them. But this booklet called Work Less and Earn More goes through how to effectively outsource and why you should be using it in your business to make yourself more money and work less hard. So give your admin to a VA, give your finance to an accountant, give your marketing to a digital expert. However, if you are a solopreneur and your cash flow is tight, so there's no one to delegate to, and you can't afford to outsource, then the only other option available to you is to handle the vortex tasks yourself. Because of that, we're going to be looking at 2 things today: time management and how we can better spend our time. And we're going to look at a few time-saving ideas which will hopefully help you produce more time. So let's start with time management. Now, there are entire courses out there on time management, and I do not claim to be an expert in this area. In fact, I'm actually quite bad at time management in my own life. But what I want to share with you is techniques and ideas that have helped me as someone who is bad at managing time. So we actually have some time management webinars on our YouTube channel by others who are better at it than I am, so you can go look them up. But these are 4 concepts that made the biggest difference for me and making me more productive in my day. And the first one is to stop multitasking. So like I said to you earlier, I'm not good at this, but then I found out I don't have to be. It has been scientifically proven that productive multitasking is a myth. So even if you think you are good at multitasking, you're not. You are still not being as productive as you would be if you focused on just one thing at a time. Every time you split your focus, every time you switch from one thing to another, you are losing precious focus that it takes your brain time to regain when it goes back to that task. So you are not saving yourself time by doing multiple things at once. You are actually taking longer, or you are not doing as good a job as you would if you just stayed with one thing. If you need a bit more convincing, we have a video on it in the YouTube channel, and I am sharing the link in the chat now. So have a look at that when you've got some time. But multitasking is not for business owners. One of our biggest dangers here is the fact that in today's world, we are expected to be constantly logged on all the time. As a result, especially as a business owner who is still trying to build or is worried about losing clients, we tend to have our phones next to us when we work, and we tend to have our email open. And every time the phone beeps and every time your email notification pings, you stop what you're doing and you read and respond to your message. This is a multitasking nightmare that constantly breaks your focus. It is extremely detrimental to your business, and honestly, it's not necessary. You do not have to reply to an email and a text immediately. You do not have to answer every single phone call. You just need to reply within a reasonable time frame, and you need to phone back within a reasonable time. So if you are battling to control your time, my first challenge to you is to leave your phone in another room while you work and close your mail clients. Check them at specific points during the day and reply at those specific times, but do not let them distract you constantly. Stop multitasking. You need to focus. In order to know what to focus on, the next thing you need to do is prioritize your tasks. Do not do what jumps to the eye as it appears. This is a terrible way of planning your day. You need to plan your approach to the work, making sure you get your most important things done first. I'm sure you've all seen this grid before, the Eisenhower matrix. It's probably one of the easiest ways to categorize work, although it's not the only one. So you can Google different ways of prioritization and find a way that works for you. But this one worked particularly well for me. We use it to categorize tasks as urgent or not urgent, and important and not important. Now remember, these are the vortex tasks we're looking at. Your goal tasks are all important. They're not necessarily urgent, but they are all important. They move the company forward. They are vital. So your goal tasks are all in the important line. Your vortex tasks might fall in any one of these quadrants. So we categorize our tasks as urgent and important, or not urgent and important, urgent and not important, and not urgent and not important. Tasks that are both urgent and important get done first. Your next lot of vortex tasks are important but not urgent, and urgent but not necessarily important. And your last slot, if you cannot actually just get rid of them completely, is not urgent and not important. There is something I want to highlight if you are going to be using this grid, and particularly when it comes to categorizing tasks as urgent or not urgent. It is that someone else's urgency is not necessarily your urgency. So when determining whether or not a task should be categorized as urgent and important, be careful not to let emotion make the decision for you. As an example, one of our branches is in accounting, and we offer tax services as part of what we do. And I promise you that during tax season, we get a lot of panicky clients giving us a call because they received correspondence from SARS, and understandably because the tax man is scary. But we know the deadlines, and we know the rules, and we know that we have done all the supporting work that needs to be done. So no matter how panicky the client is, it does not mean that I suddenly have to prioritize their tax return above everything else that I am doing. Not unless it is actually deadline day and by some horrendous error, their return slipped through the cracks. Instead, I can leave it on the schedule for the day it's been set for without worrying, knowing that no matter how worried the client is, we are actually meeting all the requirements of the taxman and they don't need to be panicking. So do not let someone else's panic dictate for you what is urgent and what is important. You know the work, you know your industry, and you know your product or service. So you know what is urgent and what is important. Calm the other person down, reassure them that you will get the work done, and do the work when it needs to happen. Which means we need to look at when. So the next thing I encourage you to do is to embrace scheduling. Set allocated, restricted times to work on specific different tasks. I used to avoid this because I tend to react very badly to restrictions in general. I find that any form of restrictive routine impacts my creativity and my passion, and I start to get really bored and disinterested in what I'm doing. So I tend to avoid this sort of thing, and I avoided scheduling for years, and it was a mistake. Because scheduling doesn't have to be restrictive, and instead it can be extremely powerful and actually quite freeing. And you can do it in different ways. So you can choose to either schedule specific tasks or task types to specific times. So for example, we're talking about emails earlier. You can say that you will check emails twice a day within specific time periods. So I'll check them from 9 to 9:30 and I'll check them from 3 to 3:30. Or you can block time. So when I first started using this technique, I actually did a sort of a mixture of those two. I gave some of my tasks to team members. I outsourced some of them. And then for the ones I had to do myself, I blocked out periods of time. So I would say on Tuesday morning from 7:30 to 12:30, and on Thursday afternoon from 1:30 to 6:30, I would do vortex tasks. But on Monday, I would be doing goal 1, and on Wednesday, I'd be doing goal 2. So I kind of was using these specific time periods in blocks on my scheduling. But these days, I'm not even as structured as that. I'm not a type A personality, so scheduling my day to the minute just doesn't happen. Even if I sit down and do the scheduling, I'm not going to stick to it. So instead, what I do is I allocate number of hours. So I say I will spend 2 hours or 3 hours a day on vortex tasks today and 2 hours a day on goal 1 or something along those lines. And then I just monitor my time in each day and make sure that I have actually spent those hours on the things that need to happen. So if one project is bigger than the others, it might get 4 hours for the day, whereas a smaller one will get half an hour each or 2 hours or something. I just make sure that I have allotted my time to the things that are important without allotting all of my time and running out. So I encourage you to use scheduling, but I encourage you to do it in a way that works for you. And the only way it'll work overall is if you are strict with yourself and strict with other people. So do not let the vortex tasks dictate your day. If they are time sensitive, schedule them in such a way that the deadlines are met, but do not allow these tasks to sidetrack you from doing your big project tasks. do them within their stipulated hours, and refuse to even consider them outside of those hours. And do not let other people change the schedule unless it is truly necessary. If you sit on a Sunday evening and you plan your week ahead, and you make sure that all of your vortex tasks are taken care of by their individual deadlines, while also making sure that you've allocated these blocks of time to the work that moves your business forward, it's going to make a huge, huge difference in your life. Even if you are in a position right now where you have to give the majority of your time to vortex tasks, it still means you can give a small amount to moving your business forward. I know of one particular business coach, a wonderful lady. She was working full-time when she got the opportunity to open a new business. But she was also getting married, and by getting married, she was inheriting 2 children. So she worked out that she could not give that new business more than 1 hour a day. That was literally the maximum she had to give to that entire new business. 1 hour per day. Because she was focused with that 1 hour, she built an amazing business. She produced phenomenal results. She now has a business flying on the side while still being full-time employed. And she did it in 1 hour a day because she was focused. So just make sure that you schedule time to work on both, and it will change your life. That way, when you get to the next Sunday, you can look back on your week and feel a tremendous sense of achievement because you've completed tasks that are productive. You haven't just been busy. And there are thousands of different scheduling ideas out there. And I know one that springs to mind is the Pomodoro technique. If you don't know it, you can Google it. There are literally hundreds of different ways of scheduling your time in the day. Go find the one that works for you and then stick to it. And lastly, manage the time management. Make sure you are being efficient and strict in your time management. It doesn't help saying that you'll stop multitasking and then you leave your phone right next to you and you look at it every time it beeps. It doesn't help you to schedule your week if you ignore the schedule and you spend 6 hours on something that is fun but useless, or you spend 6 hours putting out fires when you should have spent 2. So you use the tech to help you, and use technology to help you. Things like timekeeping apps and project management apps will make a very big difference, both in helping you to focus on the right things and helping you to monitor your ability to stick to your plans. So you can actually see how much time you spent on each thing and how effective you were in the plan for the week. And that will help you adjust your plan for next week so that it's more achievable. And use alarms. Set reminders for your deadlines and your meetings and your scheduling blocks. So reminders are wonderful. And please schedule your downtime. You need to schedule time off. Time off is a vital business task. I know most people don't believe me when I say that, but taking time off is good for your business, not just you. If you don't believe me, we have an entire video on it. There it is for you to watch. So please make sure that in your schedule, you do not just have the 4 quadrants, you also have time for you. And then review your week. Every Sunday, review the week before and check where your weaknesses were and adjust your planning. Don't try and force yourself into a mold you do not fit. You will just end up more tired and frustrated and feeling worse about yourself. So find the mold that works for you and plan accordingly. But do plan. You don't let time happen to you. Plan your time. Now we can move on to the section of the webinar that I'm sure is far more appealing to everyone, which is about saving time rather than managing time. And what can you actually do to have more time. There are actually 3 things that you can do. Well, there's actually more than 3 things you can do to reduce your time pressure, but there's 3 that I know are highly effective. And you could even consider making these your 3 big goals for the next quarter when you are planning your quadrants. Firstly, cut to your toxic clients. If you are in a service industry, you almost certainly have toxic clients. These are the clients that demanded or wheedled the discount from you, and then they keep changing goalposts or they keep finding faults, so you have to keep redoing work. And then they tell you how to do your job and fight with you about the results. And then they probably pay late or they don't pay you at all. These are clients that actually literally make you feel dread when you see their name and make you want to run away. And I know that cutting clients is scary. And most business owners do not want to do this. They want to protect the income. They feel that it's worth it while they are building. But it has been my experience that if you cut out these dreadful clients, your income actually increases. Because these clients that you're clinging to because you're too scared to lose the income, they're not paying you and they're overworking you. So when they aren't there, your time for other projects increases, which means your time for other clients, better clients, increases, and therefore your cash flow improves. If you need to create time for yourself, this is where you start. And I actually cover this in detail in some other webinars, as in one in particular where I mathematically prove to you that you will make more money by cutting your toxic clients. So if you need the proof, here it is. It was part of our cash flow improvement webinar where I prove to you that you will make more money if you get rid of these clients from your life. And I promise you that cutting out unpleasant clients and focusing on your good clients is going to improve your cash flow. It's also going to improve your mood. And most importantly, for this webinar, it is going to give you back hours of life that you don't even realize you are currently losing. The next thing that you can do is review your workflows. If you haven't taken the time to actually plan, systemize, and document your workflows, you need to. And now I know I am talking to people who rocked up today because you don't have enough time for your current work. So I'm not making myself popular by telling you to make time for other work. But this is a task that you absolutely need to make time for if you're serious about building a business. Most business owners think that their top priority should be making sales, because the more sales you make, the more money you bring in, and then hopefully you eventually bring in enough money to hire someone to help you, and they think that's what's going to reduce the overwhelm in their business. But when you hire like that, you're hiring in desperation. You are exhausted, overwhelmed, and overworked. All you care about is getting in a second set of hands. And when you get that second pair of hands, you tend to organize your work around personalities instead of accountabilities and responsibilities. So you tend to behave like one big happy family and share the work equally, which is a lovely picture. But the problem with the family picture is that it's only lovely while things are going well. And it is also the main reason why business owners say they can never delegate. This is the reason why you say that it is easier and faster if you just do it yourself. I'll give you a fictitious example. Mary has opened a law firm specializing in labor law. Mary has beautiful offices. The contracts are easy to understand. Her customers never end up with the CCMA, and they are thrilled. So her business grows, and eventually Mary realizes she can't do it all herself. So she hires Jane. Now when Mary can't type up contracts, Jane does. When Mary is in a meeting, Jane answers the phone. When Jane is preparing for a disciplinary, Mary sweeps the floor. If Mary is busy with filing, then Jane drops a paperwork off at the court. And so they go on, and it works brilliantly, and the business continues to grow. And it grows some more, so Mary adds Sarah to the team. But after a while, they realize the floor isn't as clean as it should be, and the bookkeeping hasn't been done for a few days, and some customers are complaining about spelling errors in their contracts. What went wrong? Well, no one was responsible or accountable for a specific role. They just did everything, which eventually means that they will only do what they like doing. That means that boring things that need to be done won't get done or get done poorly. Your hiring strategy and your delegation strategy cannot be organized around desperation, and it cannot be organized around personalities and love and goodwill. It needs to be organized around the roles themselves, the positions in the business that need to be filled, and the corresponding responsibilities that come with those positions. And as we saw with Jane and Mary, simply adding people to the work without allocating responsibilities and accountabilities just results in chaos. Your first step in creating freedom is actually in creating control. You need systems and processes first. And because I'm an accountant, I'm going to prove that I'm right using numbers. Worldwide, 22% of businesses fail in their first year. 22% fail before 12 months old. Of those that survive, another 75% fail before year 5. So in total, an average of 80% of businesses fail in their first 5 years. That's a terrifying statistic. But then we come to franchises. In the same 5-year period, franchises only have a 5% failure rate. So 5% of franchises fail in the same time period that 80% of small businesses fail. Why are franchises so successful? A franchise is also a business. It also costs money. In fact, it costs more money than a lot of small businesses to start up and to run. It has a lot more requirements than some small businesses. But when you buy a franchise, you get a complete set of instructions on how to run that franchise. From how to make a burger, to how to pay a staff member, on how to train a staff member, how to treat a customer, and how to do the accounting. Every single detail is laid out for you. They don't even just list the things that have to happen, they tell you how they have to happen. McDonald's standard operating procedures, it goes as far as telling the workers how long to keep a burger patty on the grill. That's how detailed it is. So a new franchise owner receives a massive and complete set of standard operating procedures telling them what to do, and with training that shows them how to use that manual. And the owners that follow these manuals succeed. So if you want your business to succeed and you want to create freedom for yourself and you want to be able to delegate your work, then your first step is to develop your standardized systems and processes. Whether you already have a team or even if you can't afford to hire and you're doing it yourself, if you've not clearly defined the roles and steps that need to be followed, you are wasting precious time every time something happens in your business. Because if you haven't clearly documented all the steps, then you're going to be doing it slightly differently every time, and you'll end up forgetting some steps and adding some steps and changing things, and all of that wastes time. And if you do have staff and they don't have a standard set of documents, they're going to be doing it wrong, and you're going to have to redo it all the time. Or they keep asking you 1,000 questions, which takes you away from whatever it is you're trying to do. So make the time to sit down and plan how you do the things in your business. Create workflows and checklists. And that way, on your worst days, you and your team will still produce the same quality of work as on your best days, and you won't be wasting time in between. We haven't actually done a webinar devoted to systems yet, but we're looking at doing one next year. So I have nothing in the chat for you, but keep an eye out for that in the new year. But planning your workflows and documenting them also makes it possible for you to automate them. You can find tech solutions that will speed up your work and improve your efficiency. And that only applies to good systems. If you try to implement technology without having planned the workflow first, in other words, without having done the work of sitting down and creating your standard operating procedures, if you try and implement tech without doing that, the tech will simply speed up your mistakes. You need to think it through first. If you want some help with this, please give me a shout. It's more important for your business than I realized when I was building initially. It makes a big difference. And then I saw this morning, so I shoved this in. I don't even have notes for it, and it didn't have time to make it pretty. But I wanted to point out here, Usain Bolt won 8 gold medals in 3 Olympics while running less than 115 seconds and earned $119 million. And that's what they call the economy of effort. But as this picture points out, for those 2 minutes, he trained for 20 years. So yes, I know that creating workflows, creating your systems, creating your policies, it takes time. Time you don't have right now. You're here because you're battling with time. But it is important for you to use your scheduling and make that time. Force other things to the side that are not as important as they seem. Stop listening to your clients' urgencies and schedule time that moves your business forward, because that is your investment. That is how you get to a future that is profitable, is by forcing yourself to do the things that you currently think you don't have time for. Put them on the schedule and rather get rid of other things. And one of the ways you can do this in your time saving is to reconsider outsourcing. So I know we've been looking at how to handle time management as solopreneurs with limited cash flow, and that's why we weren't looking at outsourcing in the first place. But one of the best things you can do for yourself as a business owner is leverage outsourcing. There are multiple reasons why it's a good call. I list a large portion of them in the book I shared with you earlier. If you missed it the first time, let me know and I'll share the book again. But there's 2 reasons why outsourcing is indispensable for a business owner who is under time pressure constraints. The first is that you are not good at everything. You started your business because you're good at something, and in that particular field, you may even be the leader. But you are not good at every single thing that has to happen in a business. By giving your marketing work to a marketing expert, or your accounting to an accountant, or your web development to a web developer, it is going to have a massively positive impact on your time, while also vastly improving the results of those particular tasks. Because even if you're doing okay, you are not doing them as well as someone who is truly passionate about them. And the other thing it allows you to do is to focus on what you do best. Because again, as a business owner, you want to be giving the majority of your time to work that moves the business forward. Now, some of that business work that moves the business forward is the operations that you are excellent at. But the rest is also obviously on planning. And marketing and sales and accounting and IT and cybersecurity and admin, they're all important, but they're all linked to operations. They do not take your business into the future. So I cannot stress how important it is for your business for you to give those things to experts who know what they're doing and to focus on your goal quadrants. You're going to enjoy your work more. and you'll actually achieve the growth you are looking for, and you'll be ready and able to handle that growth because you'll have your systems in place and you're able to hire the right team. So please reconsider outsourcing. And if you want guidance on how to do it well, grab the book or give me a call because it's something I love talking about. I know it doesn't feel like it when you see the outsourcer's quote, but outsourcing will save you both time and money in the long run. It does actually cost you less over time than it looks like it's going to cost you when you're looking at that quote. So do consider outsourcing in planning your time. In summary, before you begin any form of time management, you need to be clear on your purpose and your goals. Then you can use the 4-quadrant planning approach to planning your week and ensuring that you're making time for both tasks that build your business and tasks that run your business. For those operational tasks that you just can't give away, remember to stop multitasking. Focus is your friend. Use prioritization. Do not let the tasks themselves or your clients or anyone else dictate your day. You dictate your day. Embrace scheduling and manage yourself and others. Set alarms and reminders and make sure you have scheduled your downtime as well. And if you do need to open up some more time for yourself, cut your toxic clients, review and streamline your workflows, and outsource some of your operational work. If you need more help on how to streamline your life, we do have 2 other webinars I've done in the past. There's Overcoming Overwhelm and the Work Less, Earn More webinar. I'm going to pop those in the chat for you quickly. And of course, you are so welcome to book a call with me and see how I can help you. My 30-minute calls are free, and if I can help you in the 30 minutes, I will. So you don't have to worry about spending money, but maybe we can also help you begin developing these structures in your life and in your business. And that brings us to the end. All right, so